Alright, hey guys, Pax, so welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video. Mega Rayquaza, as you can see, has finally been revealed. If you guys haven't seen my video reacting to the trailer, I highly suggest that you do. But this is the Rayquaza card. The card that's generated a lot of hype. Rayquaza, of course, is a very, as most of you know, like a very popular and somewhat meta-changing Pokemon. Depends on the meta, depends on the game. From what I heard in VGC, it's top tier. It's also very good in the TCG as well. And in Pokemon Pocket, people have a mixed opinion. So in this video, I'll be going over people's opinions on this card, as well as my opinions towards the end. But yeah, first of all, just looking at the card, as you can see, HP 180, basic. One attack, of course, requires 2 energy, 1 fire, 1 lightning. After attacking, discard all fire and lightning energy from this Pokemon, and this attack does 50 damage for each energy you discarded in this way. So 2 energy discarded, 100, 3 energy, 150, 4 energy, 200, so on and so forth. So this guy could potentially hit like a truck. The main issue is that after attacking, you discard all energy. I think that's the main issue people have with it. If it makes it so like you only discard like half your energy, that could be a bit better. Because even then, I mean, depending on how many energy this guy has, you could still do some decent damage next turn. So yeah, let's say you have like 6 energy attached, you discard half of that. Next turn, you can still do 150 to 200 damage. Also, in case you guys don't know, I did make a Mega Rayquaza EX card for my speculation video. This is the card right here, as you can see. Mega Rayquaza EX. We could still get this, granted, because we're getting Mega Rayquaza EX, but not XEX. Yes, this was totally not an error on my part. But yeah, this is my version. Very similar HP, of course. HP 180. Dragon Ascent is a lot more versatile than the one that we ended up getting. So this one, of course, is kind of like a late game finisher. After attacking, you might be screwed next turn, whereas my version gets a lot more value. So yeah, Dragon Ascent requires 3 energy. 100 base damage. This attack does 60 more damage for each point that your opponent has gotten. So different playstyles, but the one that I made is debatably far better, of course. Just looking at it towards the mid game, if your opponent has 1 point, this guy's already doing 160. And the ability is kind of insane as well. Double type, as long as this Pokemon is in play. It is fire and lightning type. We'll get into it later on because there's a lot of cards that could benefit Rayquaza if it had this ability. And speaking of which, Rayquaza doesn't have an ability, which I still don't get, because in the initial teaser, it seemed like there was an ability. Like, look at this. What happened to Mega Rayquaza's ability you teased in the first trailer last month? Got us hyped only to let us down, man. As you can see, there's an ability icon, or at least something there. If it's not an ability, there's something in this general area. And then when we look at this card, there's nothing. There's nothing there. Like it's blank. So I have no idea what happened there. Maybe they had an ability for Rayquaza initially, but it might have been way too broken. So they're like, you know what? Rayquaza's already going to sell us money. If he's good, if he's bad, doesn't matter. We're still going to release it. But for the sake of the meta, remove the ability. That could be Dina's thinking, maybe. But yeah, in the end, this is the card that we got. Once again, if you guys haven't watched my video going over the trailer, I really highly suggest that you do. They revealed certain cards that help Mega Rayquaza. For one thing, we have Rainbow Cave. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard the energy that has been generated in their energy zone. If they do, the next energy is produced. So on paper, this doesn't seem too good, but if you pair this card with the new Dragonair card, ability Dragon's Blessing, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may attach an energy from your discard pile to your active Dragon Pokemon. So let's say Rayquaza is in your active, you Rainbow Cave, paired with Dragonair, you could potentially get Rayquaza built and attacking. Granted, again, the main issue is the energy. Requires fire and lightning, but then again, in terms of Rainbow Cave, that could add to your consistency. Let's say your next energy is fire type, and you need lightning type to attack. Your energy next turn is lightning type. You could use Rainbow Cave, discarding the fire energy, and just like that, you have your lightning energy. Feed Rayquaza, and just like that, Rayquaza can attack. So yeah, Rainbow Cave paired with Dragonair overall adds to the consistency of Rayquaza EX. Slightly digressing, but Rainbow Cave has amazing synergy with fire type as well, because as you can see, you discard an energy. Given this, I mean, looking at fire type, of course, there is Flame Patch. Fire type is heavily reliant on discarding energy so that you could use Flame Patch. So yeah, Flame Patch plus Rainbow Cave could be rather menacing. Your second turn going first, let's say you're leading with Entei EX. Just gonna pull up Entei EX for reference. If you have a Rainbow Cave as well as Flame Patch, Entei EX can attack your second turn without Charmeleon, because usually for Mega Charizard decks, in order for Entei to attack relatively fast towards the early game, you either have to build it manually or use Charmeleon's ability to ramp his energy, but with Rainbow Cave, it's not really that necessary. So Rainbow Cave overall is a huge buff for fire type. Fire type's gonna get far faster because of the stadium card. And then looking at Dragonair, obviously Dragonair paired with Rainbow Cave not only buffs Rayquaza, but also buffs other Dragon Pokemon as well, just adding more to consistency. I won't go over the other Pokemon too much, but some notable ones, of course, are Dragonite, as well as there's also Haxorus, somewhat benefiting from it, yeah. So, not too bad. I mean, I still want more Dragon-type buffs. Like, they can still definitely add a trainer card. A lot of people are hoping that they would add Zinnia. This is Zinnia from the TCG. You can play this card only if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Attach up to 2 basic energy cards from your hand to one of your Dragon Pokemon. So, once again, just adding to Rayquaza's damage. Again, next turn, you're going to lose all the energy, so Bro is definitely like a late game nuke for the most part. Middle game, you can still see a bit of viability. Again, I'll mention a combo later on, but anyways, before we get into my opinion on this card, I just want to go over the community's opinion on Mega Rayquaza EX. Pros, lots of HP, basic, low retreat cost, can hit for very high damage. Con is a Mega Pokemon, dual energy. Even if the attack is 2 energy, most of the time you'll need 3 to 4. You need to discard all energy. Opinion, this card is very mid and won't see much play except if there's more support for it. Mid. This guy's saying this card is going to be very mid. We will see. Again, it's really hard to tell now. Like, there's a lot of people speculating, forming opinions, but opinions have been wrong in the past. So ultimately, time will tell in like 4 or 5 days, depending when I upload this video. We'll see it. Again, the pack will be dropping on July 29, 2026, 6 p.m. Pacific daytime. Looking at Reddit, we got this Reddit post right here. Mega Rayquaza is much better than you think. Post made by Substantial Soft 332. Every time there's a new trailer, there's always one Pokemon that everybody shits on, then ends up being really good. Being with 2 E's. I believe Rayquaza is the one. Read the card, discard all fire and electric energy, and do 50 damage for each discarded. That means you only need 1 electric or fire, then can have an infinite amount of the other, and they will do 50 damage each. So I see 2 ways to play this. You either run 1 energy type and run 2 babies of the other type. Then you add as many energy as possible to it while only using 1 of the baby's energy. Doing 150 damage for 3 energies, 200 for 4 energies, and already 2 thresholds that are very important. The other way is with the new support, Dragonair and Stadium. If you do this, you can add 2 energies to your Rayquaza every turn. Burn 1 energy with your Stadium, add it to Rayquaza with Dragonair, and add another 1 manually. You could even use it back to back, as Dragonair does not say a random energy. It says an energy, so I believe you get to choose. I'm 100% sure this will be a viable card. S tier, maybe not, but it will get a bit of play. So yeah, very interesting take. This guy did mention there's 2 ways to lead. I'm not really a big fan of the baby route because depending on your opponent's deck, you might struggle with that. Because sure, with babies, you could get Rayquaza fully built. Guy could be hitting for like 300 damage, 450, something like a high number like that. But next turn, you're screwed. No energy attached, so I very much prefer the Dragonair Rainbow Stadium route. Love the optimism. In short, needing 1 to 2 stage 1s to make your basic Mega work is not simple and risky. Let's assume best case, you attack with Rayquaza and take out some filler active baby mon. You get hit back, your Dragonair is ready to go. You attack and hit whatever was there for 150. You get hit again and die. Less than great, needs way more support to be useful. That's the main issue, which is why, again, the baby route is not ideal in my opinion. I mean, this guy did mention, I think, Dragonair, yeah. So Rayquaza is definitely a mid to late game finisher. It's much more beneficial to pair Rayquaza with a non-EX that doesn't really require much energy. So maybe something like, for even cast form, doing 30 to 50 damage each turn. Sure, it only requires 1 fire type energy. So if you're running dual type, you might run into some issues. But again, in regards to Rainbow Cave, that boosts consistency for dual type decks. So yeah, if you have a lightning energy, next turn, you can see that you have a fire type. You can use Rainbow Cave, get that fire type energy, and attack with cast form. And of course, Rainbow Cave, since it's a stadium, it triggers cast form's attack ability, doing 50 to 70 damage. So yeah, I can see where this person is coming from. Rayquaza is not that good if your deck relies heavily on Rayquaza doing damage. Like late game, yeah, of course, it could be win condition, but you need something to chip your opponent's active. Whether it's a baby, non-EX, or even EX, could help out tremendously. No one's putting their Mega out if you're ramping Rayquaza. At that point, you have to pair it with something to get bench damage and pull out the Mega. Hear me out, Mega Ray plus Greninja. You could also maybe do that. That could be very diabolical. Also requires a bit more RNG. People are already complaining getting out of stage 1. This one, you need at least 1 stage 2 to make this viable, as well as Cyrus. So It really depends on how you want to make a deck. But again, personally, I'm not a big fan of pairing babies with Mega Rayquaza. Mega Rayquaza uses Fire Energy and Electric. That makes it extremely powerful with no weaknesses and 1 retreat cost. The new Stadium and yes, Dragon Air will help him out. He isn't like Lugia who takes 3 energy. He can do 2 energy attacks for tempo early. For the most part, I feel like it won't really be worth it to lead with Rayquaza doing 100 damage. But depending on the stage of the game, depending on your opponent's deck, if they brick, you can still do the flat 100 and potentially win the game just like that. I've had games like that, especially in Master Ball, where my opponent would brick so hard. They only have 1 basic Naughty EX their first turn. My second turn, I can just attack, take the win just like that. It's like a minute-long battle. It's happened to everybody at this point. If you play this game long enough, that definitely does happen. Also, people are comparing him to Lugia EX. I've seen a comment where people were pairing Mega Rayquaza with Ho-Oh EX, which could work. It's a bit awkward though, since you are generating a water type energy. And of course, looking at Rayquaza, you can only discard fire and lightning. So after attacking, you still have that water energy, and that water energy doesn't add to the damage whatsoever. So it's just basically kind of like a filler. So it ends up being very trivial. You could also pair Rayquaza with Moltres. Granted, it is RNG dependent, but the fire energy gained from Inferno Dance does add to Rayquaza EX's overall damage. But again, very slow and inconsistent. Moltres, Inferno Dance has definitely failed me in the past. Ho-Oh EX requires 3 energy just to attack, so it's going to take you several turns until you can use Phoenix Turbo. Gengar EX has good synergy with it. There's a lot of potential here. Did you say potential? Yes, he did. I don't get the reference, but that's crazy comparing Mega Rayquaza to Mega Gengar. In case you guys don't know, Mega Gengar is something. Honestly, it's a very weird card, because if it was good, people would hate it. People would absolutely dread it because of the attack ability. But the build-up is just insane. Stage 2 requires 4 energy. People are saying that Wally, I don't know if Wally's on this website now. Just pulling up Wally for reference. People are saying that Wally could potentially buff Mega Gengar, because as you can see, Wally, take a colorless energy from Energy Zone, attach it to one of your stage 2 Pokemon. Gengar's stage 2, requires 1 colorless energy. But even then, it's going to take you 3 to 4 turns until this guy can attack. So people are definitely trying to cope with Gengar, trying to make it viable. Miraidon is a basic and requires stage 1s and Magnezone to work best. Had no issues at all and tops tournaments. Pick any Shampoo deck. It's entirely relying on multiple stage 1s or stage 2s and is doing absolutely fine, or is the top deck in the game, aka Suicune Excalibur. Dark Ninja is literally 2 basic megas that require stage 2s to be fully effective, and it wins tournaments with ease. Sorry, but the trend is continuing. Whenever Reddit says a card is ass, it almost certainly will be good. The argument that I keep seeing about needing stage 1s as support makes it bad is just wrong in every way. The meta has gotten to the point where the best way to play a stage 2 mega is also to run a stage 2 line, again Greninja, and those decks are doing incredible in tournaments. Having 2 separate stage 2 lines was considered complete trash and very inconsistent for the majority of this game's lifetime, and now it's the best way to play? Reddit is wrong as always. Okay, as they mentioned, Shampoo is still the absolute GOAT. And then when you think about this, just looking at all the cards, Rayquaza, Rainbow Cave, Dragonair, it's very similar in terms of playstyle to Shampoo EX Baxcalibur. Very similar relationship, and Baxcalibur is a stage 2, keep in mind, whereas of course Dragonair is a stage 1. And in case you guys don't know, Shampoo EX, usually how you play this card, you would lead with Suicune EX, Shampoo EX on your bench, Baxcalibur as well. Beat Shampoo at least 1 energy. Next turn, you could retreat out Suicune, use Baxcalibur's ability Ice Maker, just like that Shampoo can attack. The main issue is that next turn Shampoo has nothing. Cannot use Diving Ice Skull, since of course it discards all energy. Very similar to Mega Rayquaza EX. But the thing is with Shampoo, it could consistently attack if you have 2 Baxcaliburs out. 2 stage 2s on your bench. Shampoo EX could do 130 damage each turn. Dragonair helps out tremendously with ramp supporting Rayquaza after attacking your next turn. If you have 1 Dragonair on your bench, Rayquaza can attack yet again, doing 100 damage. Not too much. But if you have 2 Dragonairs on your bench, since you can use Dragon's Blessing multiple times, if you have 2 Dragonairs on your bench, Mega Rayquaza could consistently do 150 damage. Once again, has a lot of potential. A lot of people are complaining this setup is very precise. Most likely will not happen, but evidently, as you can see from Water type, it happens all the time, especially towards the late game. I've had a lot of games where I was able to get 2 Baxcaliburs out. Granted, it's all RNG, but still, it could happen. But then again, this is Water type. Suicune comes in clutch 100% with the ability Legendary Pulse. But again, with copycats and the right amount of RNG, getting 2 stage 1s is far easier than getting out 2 stage 2s. But again, only time will tell. Reddit was wrong in the past, keep in mind. I remember when Giratina EX came out, people didn't really like it that much. They thought it was going to be absolutely trash. Ultimately, it dominated the meta for several months, and even nowadays, it's still somewhat viable in the meta. Same thing with Gyarados EX as well. A lot of people looked at it, wasn't that good. Just pulling up Gyarados EX for reference. A lot of build-up, definitely, but paired with Manaphy, as well as Origin Form Palkia, had amazing synergy. This deck dominated for months. Gyarados EX, Palkia, and Manaphy was peak water type back in the day. Before Suicune EX came out, reviving the water type meta, we had this trio right here. And also Misty, very inconsistent, but could definitely help you out. So yeah, in a few days from now, we'll figure out whether Mega Rayquaza EX was overhyped, underhyped, or just hyped. And in regards to my opinion, I kind of mentioned it in regards to the comparison with Suicune Excalibur. This guy isn't as broken as it could be. Once again, just pulling up Rayquaza EX. I feel like this is a very solid card in my opinion, but not too bad. I personally like the design. I like how it's kind of meant to be a mid to late game finisher. Could do 250 damage, 150, 200. Could potentially hit like a truck, one-shotting your opponent's Mega EX. In the current meta, there's a high prominence of basic Mega EXs, such as, of course, Mega Absolute EX, Sableye EX. With 4 energy attached, Rayquaza could potentially one-shot that Pokemon. If I had to rank this card just from initial impression, I'd have to rank it B+ to A tier, around this area. Again, it could have been far better than it is, especially with the ability that just magically vanished, I guess. But nevertheless, as the first Mega Dragon type EX, I'm satisfied. Let's forget about the other one. The other one did not exist, okay? Mega Latios EX does not exist. It's just a myth. 100%, yeah. And just a little bit of a bonus, I did make this deck right here. I might tweak it a little bit, but this is what I'm thinking would be a somewhat decent deck that you could make. Just replace the Rayquaza EXs and Bounded Fields with Rainbow Cave and Mega Rayquaza. For Oricorio, you could replace Oricorio with maybe, as I mentioned, Furfrou, Castform as well, synergizing perfectly well. If you go down the Oricorio route, instead of like, let's say, instead of May, you could replace May with another second copy of Oricorio, because depending on your opponent's deck, they can't do anything. Oricorio, 2 Oricorios on the field is absolutely disruptive, especially if they're using a deck that has a high EX prominence. This deck is also running X-Speed, and if you guys are curious why I'm running X-Speed instead of Small Air Balloon, it's because of Protective Poncho. In my opinion, it's much more beneficial to attach Protective Poncho onto Rayquaza instead of Small Balloon, because of course, depending on your opponent's deck, if they have a deck that prioritizes on chipping the bench, you want to protect your Rayquaza as much as you can. As for the board layout, this is how you want to be running. So leading with Oricorio, 2 Dragonairs on your bench, Rayquaza, feed Rayquaza, eventually sub him in, attack. Next turn, use Dragon's Blessing twice, and Rayquaza EX is doing 150, just like that. So enough, usually enough to finish off your opponent's Mega EX. So that should be enough to one-shot your opponent's active Pokemon, potentially winning the game. Rayquaza is definitely the definition of potential, man. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's the video. Once again, hopefully you guys did enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed my nonsensical rambling. Once again, leave a like and subscribe. It really does help me out tremendously, both mentally and physically, as I always say. And yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys on my next video. Peace.